It is an honor and a privilege to have one of the council members of the, it's called again? Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya
Independent.
There's no independence. I've been telling him since about 5:30 this morning, but you can have a go at it.
The top decision-making organ of this new political formation. You sit in that council, and it's good to have you on the show. We've been discussing what the decision-making of the council has been in terms of what you want to do to win the election. So you have a presidential candidate in the name of Raila Odinga. And then the council met a couple of days ago, and this one meeting emerged and announced to the public that we are going to help Raila pick a running mate. It is going to be a collective decision, and a 7-member panel is going to be appointed. What is the conversation that led to this decision on a 7-member panel, blah, blah, blah?
Well, I guess the decision was made. It's not for the council to really pick the running mate for Raila, but to advise him. Him being our presidential candidate, he raised the matter at the council and said he would seek for a more expansive. And this year's elections are not just like any other time. There are so many dynamics. You appreciate that our coalition has almost over 26 parties. And so when everybody is coming into the coalition, they have expectations, and you have to manage these expectations. And so it was wise for Raila Odinga to ask for help, advice, but finally he's the person to make the decision, because as per the constitution, he's the one to make the final decision. And so the 7-member council was to look at several names of several people who have shown interest, or several names that have been proposed to him, either directly or indirectly. And then they will have a look at them. I think they already gave an outline of what they'll be looking for, so that then it becomes easier for Raila to make a final decision. Because a running mate is not just about a person who is a personal friend or a person maybe you have worked with before. Must be a person who will complement what maybe a presidential candidate doesn't have. We're at a very interesting position where we've seen people who have been friends earlier, they have now gone into different coalitions. And also people who have been, I think they also managing the trust, because some of the candidates have also, members of coalition have also been previous coalitions or partnership. And so to manage the expectation, to manage, what we've always seen after any election, somebody saying, I was promised, or this is what we had agreed, or it was supposed to happen after this, then Mimi. Of course, there have been those kind of discussions. And so Raila wanted transparency. And part of what the council agreed was that even Kalonzo himself was given a chance to select one person to be in the panel. And so he already gave a name. I don't know where these other voices are coming from, because even when we were doing the press conference, you saw Kalonzo was there. He didn't raise any objection when the agenda came, and it was part and parcel of the decision that the council made.
Let me take you back, Mheshimiwa, just sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Was this a request that was made by Raila to the council?
Yes.
That I have so many people bombarding me with names. Please, council, I'd like some assistance on selection of a running mate. Was it him who initiated this, or was it the council that told Raila, we need to help you?
No, it is, the presidential candidate word is final, and this is his personal decision. And so he's the one who made the request, and the council accepted. And so Kalonzo is also part of the council. But I think there are people who are very happy when our coalition fight. There are people who are also trying to push for us as a specific person to be our running mate for their own advantage. Having been in politics not for a very long time, I'm now going for my 10th year maybe. I've seen very many tricks being applied. And you would see the people who are crying out loud are the people who are our opposition. They're the ones who are even saying Kalonzo should be treated this way. Kalonzo was not even given a chance to speak at a funeral. And we know funerals are very personal. Anybody who have lost a loved one, you determine who speaks I am very sure there are people who have been very close to the late president, Moi Kibaki, who would have loved to speak, who have known him maybe from childhood. But being a state function and the way the whole funeral was, not everybody was given a chance. And so I don't know why it becomes, a subject.
A sticking point.
Actually, one of that side, I don't like calling their name, they are sending off their, the daughter, and instead of him mourning his daughter, he's busy talking about how Kalonzo was treated in another funeral. So I'm very suspicious as a person, and this one I'm not speaking as a council member. I'm speaking as a Kenyan, and let me call them a layman. Why would they concentrate about Kalonzo? If they think the Kamba vote is so important to us, why can't they also appoint Mudhama to be their running mate?
I hear you on that. Saying that.
And so are they trying to push for us as a specific candidate so that we lose in a specific area? And I want to be very open here. 2013, Ruto won 52% of votes came from Mount Kenya. Okay? 2017, 50% of Ruto winning was from Mount Kenya. So are they trying to push Raila to deceive him, to move away from Mount Kenya, so that they can now pick a candidate from Mount Kenya and make sure that Raila gain, because he has gained from 1% to around 30% now in Mount Kenya, something that he has never achieved. So are they trying to push this favor he's getting from Mount Kenya? So Raila picks a person from a different region, and then they take a person from Mount Kenya, and that would translate again to the loss, because if Mount Kenya, they have a person who is at a higher level, clearly we don't have a presidential candidate who is a strong presidential candidate. So we will be running behind a candidate who takes a number 2. We will be knowing, then we have, and you cannot ignore the number of votes in Mount Kenya region. Whether you get a 30 or 40% from that region, it really translates a lot. So it's a tricky balance, and I think that's why Raila asked for help, because you have to do the calculations. So if I don't pick Kalonzo, so what kind of percentage of my votes will I lose from that region? But again, we have Ngilu, we have Mutua, we have Kibuda Kibwana. And why would anybody, if you love this country, come and make elections about yourself?
But this is exactly
and why
what he
do
did.
people get inside coalitions?
But
Is it
Rishi,
because of my personal gain? Or is it because of the love I have for this country? Or is it because I believe in the presidential candidate that I have decided
Can I hold
to
you on
be...
that? Because this thing that we're talking about having him said, he said it himself. These are not his people who are backing on the sides. Whereas the example that you gave about the funeral, there were people who made mention on his behalf. But this he has clearly said himself. I want to tell Kenyans that I will not attend the said process. I find the entire thing demeaning to my person and will therefore distance myself from it. He said this himself. Nobody spoke on his behalf.
Kalonzo is a Christian. I think the likes of Bishop Jenga, if you're asked to appear before them, I don't see anything demeaning. Actually, if he's confident enough that he is the right candidate, he should present himself and actually prove to Kenyans and to the panel that this is me and I'm the right candidate for that position. Unless there is some suspicion, or he doesn't trust himself. And again, as a leader, I would hate to do double speak. Today, you are in a press conference saying this is a decision by the council. Then you run. Tomorrow you start saying something opposite. It also gives a lot of questions on what kind of a leader, even the standing of such kind of a person.
Did Kalonzo
I wouldn't want
in the council meeting?
Of course.
Did he say, yes, I agree with this, I hear what our presidential candidate has asked, and I agree with the decision that is being taken here by what is seeming to be the majority. I agree that, yes, let's have a selection panel. Did he say yes?
Yes. And so, if I choose my lead, I would also not want to have a crybaby. That every time you need to, pampering. A leader should be strong. And he should stand by the decision and say, this is it. This is what I want to do, or this is my decision. But I think there are many voices and there are many people who are trying to influence Kalonzo, not because of himself, but because of their own also personal gain.
Who would such people be?
I have seen people, you have seen the people who are in his party, the ones who have been really pushing him. And so I think once he makes a personal decision, then he moves out of now the agreement or whatever the talks that they're having with the former prime minister. Then when he goes back to his party, I think there are people behind there saying it's either this or nothing. But I think Kalonzo should just come out as a strong leader and make a decision by himself and make a decision of what he knows is right for this country. He should not also allow other people to use him to rock the boat from inside. He should not also allow other people to make decisions on his behalf. He's a leader with experience for a very long time. Let's take the example of what happened even in the US for Obama. Because it was almost obvious that Obama would have taken Hillary Clinton as a running mate. But there was that kind of a council. It's almost a similar panel that was mandated to advise Obama on who would become the running mate. And you see, what did they do? They looked at Obama. What were his strengths? He had a very good following on women. The young people had a very good following. And he also had very good following among the black people in the US. But the research that the said panel also did, they also discovered that Obama didn't have a very good follow-up with the conservatives. I'll say the whites, those ones who play golf and everything else. And he needed them to be in the government. He didn't want a government where he's at White House only with the blacks. And so what did they do? They looked for Joe Biden, who now attracted those people. Again, Obama was almost, I would say, a newcomer in politics. Joe Biden was a senator for 35 years. So he came to complement Obama with experience. So this is not just for us as a coalition. And I would say any serious presidential candidate or even a governor should look for a candidate who will complement him and bridge in the gaps and try to bring in on the table what he doesn't have. So let's look at everybody who is being proposed as a running mate for whatever side, whether it's on our side or the side of William Ruto. And then we can also help those candidates, with proper research, scientific research, to come up with the best candidate who will add more votes on the table. Because
it's about votes here.
Obviously, at the end of the day, the winning is about numbers. So, for example, Raila, if I was to advise him, as per now, he is not having a very good following on women. So if he gets a woman, that means his ratings will go higher. So also look at the regions. If picking a running mate from Mount Kenya will make Mount Kenya move from now 30%, maybe Raila gets 40 or even 50%, why not? So it's a very tricky balance. And I think the approach made by our side, by our coalition, through the request of our presidential candidate is a good move. And I think it's something that the other side should be happy about, but they are scared. And so they want to confuse us. But and they are also...
Let's take a break.
Yes.
We need to get to the news. SABINA CHEGE is the woman rep for Murang'a County. She also sits in the council of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya what? Coalition Alliance? One Kenya Alliance Party. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance Party. She's in the council. We're talking about Raila's running mate. What are the choices? What is it that should be considered when they're looking at how to pair the two, Raila and the running mate?
This is the Situation Room.
Mheshimiwa SABINA CHEGE, the woman rep for Murang'a County, is still with us. She's also a member of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance Party Council. We're talking about the work that the council has in advising the presidential candidate for Azimio, especially in this matter of choosing a running mate. So, Mrs. Mayor, who is a secretary to the panel that was selected to aid with this, wrote and said, well, we're going to be looking at eminent personalities, and this is what we shall be considering. Several things, that they are eminent, that they're persons of integrity and above reproach. Then also we're looking at what their passion is for this country, what they want to do, how they can help the presidential candidate and the party win this ticket. How does one apply if I wanted to apply and appear before this selection panel to be the running mate for Raila? How does one apply? Do you know?
I think they have not yet come up with how to apply, because I think the only person I've seen who have shown interest is Charity Ngilu. And this is through her party that fronted her name. So maybe they will ask political parties, we have many coalitions within our party. Maybe political parties can apply or forward their names to the panel. I'm yet to hear from them on maybe the modalities or how people should apply. But even as a give, when you talk about integrity and everything else, I think for me, and this is it's an independent panel, they should look at many things that are going to be considered in this year's election. First and foremost, we look at the age of the voters. So that's one of the considerations. So as they pick a running mate, then they should look at a person who will attract the majority of the voters. Number two, the issue of gender. And number three, the numbers that one might bring. Number four, also, track record. I think it's important for the people, whether you served as an MP, whether you served or you've never served as a politician, but you have been in different, because some might come from corporate. I don't know why you're assuming it's only politicians who might become the running mates. But the track record of a person is very important, and how the impact they have and the connection they have on the ground. Because there are some people who are very big nationally, but when you go to their ground, they have no votes. So it is important, that connection and the following on the ground, and not just about one region. Also somebody who is able to attract, let me say, a decent section of Kenya. Not just saying by region, but apart from your region, then, are you able to command respect and also a following from other regions within the country? So I'll be waiting, as other Kenyans wait, maybe on how to apply, and whether it's through a political party. And I'm very sure then they will still communicate. And so this conversation of whether Kalonzo is appearing before the panel or not, I think it's a conversation that has started,
So it's premature.
It's very premature, because the panel has not even written to Kalonzo maybe to ask him to appear. I don't think so. And the panel has also not asked specific individuals to apply. So this kind of a discussion, that's why I became very suspicious about it, because it's premature. Let's allow the panel to do their work. Then we, as a public, or maybe as a coalition, we can be able to say they did a very good job, or we are not satisfied. And again, the final, and I will again say the final decision. And this is within maybe the next 8 or so many days, 10 days. So the final decision is with the presidential candidate.
Are you interested in that position?
I have not had that discussion with my party leader. And so I wouldn't want to
I'm not asking whether your party leader is interested in you being the running mate.
You see,
is SABINA CHEGE interested in being running mate?
This election and this is not just about personal interests. No, it's about many things.
Okay.
One of the things.
If you are approached and said,
thank you, now that's better.
SABINA CHEGE, will you consider being running mate? What would your response be?
I'll say yes.
My party leader.
No. You see, I would say yes, because approached by who? If the panel writes to me or calls me and say your name has been forwarded or would want you to come for the interview, of course I'll say yes. Why I'm saying this, I think you've seen what happened to Nairobi. Where many candidates, and it's unfortunate, they spent a lot of money, they went out there. But the dynamics of politics this time is different. So I might be interested and then get disappointed. So why do I want to go through that journey? So it's going to be, I think, through consultation, because I am a member of Jubilee Party. And we have our party leader. So he might be the person to forward several names as a party leader, or the whole team within the neck of Jubilee Party. They would say we have 2 or 3 candidates whom we want to forward. As Gilu's party decided to write to the panel and said, we are interested and we have
a candidate.
So it's not just about myself. And this time I think we have very many lessons to learn. And Kenyan's politics are changing.
Sure.
It's not the way we did them before. We've seen a person coming, like 2 weeks, and now they are on top of, the ratings. And they were not there 2-3 months ago.
Speculation is rife that the council, as well as the Azimio candidate, as well as everybody else, already knows who the running mate is going to be.
Treat
And
that
we're
as
all being
speculations.
invited to just some drama here on a national scale about questions being asked or interviews that you already know who this is. And this is a lot of window dressing that's going on
I will
right
tell
now.
you, that's speculations, as you called it. And we as the members of the council have no preference. And within the council, actually, we have people who are interested. We have Mother Karua. We have Charity Ngilu, who sits in the council. We have Kalonzo Musyoka. Then, if the council already had a candidate, then why would we say then we are setting up a panel? So it is important for Kenyans to give us the benefit of doubt and to stop the speculations and allow this panel to do their work. Then after that, we can be able to test and say this worked, this didn't work, would have done this better. For the first time in Kenya, a running mate position has not just been left to one individual. It has been opened up to several people who are also respected within Kenya to help the candidate or give suggestions of a possible and a person who can be a running mate. If what happened between Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and his running mate or his deputy president is any lessons to go by, if I was also Raila Amolo Odinga, I'll even consult more. Because the new constitution is not like the boys' time, where you could have a deputy president today, then if they are not having chemistry, because I think also chemistry is very important. I wouldn't want the things that we have seen even within the deputy governors, that you are a governor, and then you pick a deputy because you just want somebody to be there. Then the offices are closed. You know, the deputy governor tries to raise a governor, then they don't even speak, and they have no portfolio. And I think it's also important, even as we go on, for the deputy president also to be made busy, for the person, he or she, to have either a ministry or, some work to do. Because if you just leave the deputy president just to be running around the nation and doing nothing because he has no proper mandate, I think the constitution somewhere, it was not clear on the role of a deputy president. So chemistry is very important.
Chemistry. You have tried very, very hard to give the impression that you're a novice in politics. You're not. The way you have explained this situation, excellent salesmanship. But let's look at politics for what it is. Bare-knuckled politics. I have been of the view that all this noise we're hearing is just negotiation. In the political realm, my view, noise is negotiation. It's not noise. Any posturing, any position, any statements that are made that even seem untoward, they are negotiations. That having been said, I'm also of the view that whenever politicians come up with something that appears to the public to be completely democratic, it informs me that they've already made a decision, but they want the public to have this view that they like to consider a variety of perspectives and views, and yet they know what they want. Are you telling me, for instance, Mheshimiwa, that you are in that panel and in your mind you don't have an idea of who you'd prefer? You do. Everyone in that panel, are you telling me they don't have an idea of whom they would prefer? I'm of the view that they do. That's my view.
You see, we have, and I want to confirm to you, no preference. And neither did we even discuss any names. And that's why we left it to the presidential candidate. The presidential candidate requested that he needs to have a panel for advisors to advise him on, and we left it at that. There was no discussion of even a single name or preference. And I want also you appreciate that in that council, we have various political parties. Our party leader sits there as a chairman. We have the ODM leader. We have NAK Kenya. We have NAK. We have several people. Even Gideon Moi sits there. So it's not just about an individual. And you see, give the devil its due. At least on our side, we have what you are saying seem to have an open process. And we have given, opened up to 7 more people to advise our presidential candidate. On the other side, what is cooking? And why are they interested so much in talking about and they're pushing us to a certain candidate, to pick a certain candidate, but they're not talking about themselves. Yesterday I had a show with Murkomen, and he mentioned some names. And what was most interesting is that he just mentioned a team of men, like 5 or 6. Then later he talks about, we also have some women, you know, named one, Alice Wahomen, and the other one from Kirinyaga. It took him like a minute to remember her name. Then again, then did some expression of, I think also Susan Kika was somehow interested. You can tell what those people think about women.
They have left the decision purely to their presidential candidates.
Exactly.
And
that
their
is one man's
candidate has
decision.
not asked for support or help.
Then appreciate that our presidential candidate has asked for advice. It's actually not.
And that is
a
what
decision
maybe
is
they are
not,
doing.
A decision is not. A decision would not be made by the panel. So we have not asked them. They are not part of our panel. We have 7 members who are announced. So please, we are not interested in their advice on who we pick as our presidential, as our running mate. Let them tell us who they are picking and the criteria they will use. But for us, and I think that was the most honorable thing for Raila Amolo to do, to just say, I would want some, advice. It's not a final decision. But we also saw, let me also remind you, you saw when the UDA candidates, the presidential candidate, they were to decide. He went and sat down, and there was an interview done.
Yes.
By one Veronica Maina and Modama, and they came up with the decision that William Ruto is going to be their presidential candidate.
Yeah.
So what is so wrong with us having a panel? And of course of more respectable persons more than Modama and Veronica Maina. So let us be...
You wasted the opportunity.
Let us be...
to suggest somebody who could also be the Kenya Kwanza candidate. You wasted that opportunity. You could maybe have come out and said, Kipchumba
Yes.
has been a senator,
No.
a leader of majority in the Senate.
We concentrate on our own issues. We have several issues to handle. So we are not interested in what they are doing. Let them be, and please let us be. And we'll handle our businesses in a very moderate way. And we are hoping that out of the advice of the council, that we'll get the best, and I'm going to say the best running mate ever. And by the way, I would even want a surprise candidate. Not just the normal names that we're used to.
Not these names, not Charity Ngilu, Martha Karua,
we need
Kalonzo Musyoka.
Something that can excite Kenyans for sure.
Mheshimiwa, you've alluded, and I'm just asking now for clarity on this, that these rumblings that we're then hearing from Kalonzo, because you set the stage and you said, look, he sits on the council. By the time we made this decision, he was in the room. Then we had a press conference. We said the same thing that we had agreed in the room about this panel and what they would do. But what you've said is that you're alluding to the possibility that the rumblings that are coming from Kalonzo Musyoka today are not from within Azimio, that they are being influenced from the outside. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
unequivocally?
yes. Because Kalonzo also has given a person to sit at the same panel. So how do you even
Apart
nominate?
from himself, somebody else?
The Senator
Wambua.
Wambua is a person from Kalonzo who is going to sit at the panel. So how do you even give your person to sit at the panel? Then you start talking about appearing or not appearing. Actually, we are not even sure whether whether the panel is going to do interviews or they're going to ask people to apply in writing. So why are we having this discussion at this time? And so that's why I said, why would the people from his region, who are not part of our coalition, spend the entire, instead of mourning, and helping Modama to mourn his daughter, even Modama himself. That was the subject about Kalonzo, how he's being treated. But Kalonzo is a very mature man. He made a mature decision that he wants to join our side of coalition. We were with Akina Mudavadi, they decided to leave. And you see, once you make a decision, it is always good to stand by your decision. It doesn't really help, when you keep on doing back and forth. As a leader, back and forth, really.
If I may say
You're
so.
red, you're green.
The opposition have every right to use whatever strategy they see fit. That's their strategy.
That's true.
Okay? But also, surely, can Kalonzo change his mind? I mean, is it allowed to
With how
change his
many,
mind?
Again.
it depends with how many times.
No, funny. Is there a limit as to the number of times you can change your mind?
But it also gives you, it doesn't really give a very good
sure.
impression.
Democracy is precisely that.
It's changing mind.
You can change your mind.
Then you can be made the deputy president, then tomorrow you say you have changed your mind. You're no longer interested.
Yes,
So
you can do that.
Then
the
is
reason why
that kind of a leader that you would want to serve you? That you don't know if he sleeps. It depends with what side of the
He wakes up on tomorrow.
and decides now it's no longer this way, it's the other way. So let's be
you know the
serious.
reason why I'm actually pointing out to this. There seems to be this discussion that leans towards the assertion that Kalonzo ought to be a certain kind of leader. He ought to be a certain kind of person, and yet he's showing you what he is. So why don't you take what you're seeing as the given and work with that given? Because this change that you're talking about, you may really wait for it. Okay. A person who changes his mind is not necessarily an undecided person. They're just a person who has the ability to change their mind.
I would say,
They keep deciding.
They keep deciding and they're flexible. You ask me the sort of leader. An open-minded leader who, in the light of new facts, they take new direction. So they keep, as Eric puts it, deciding.
I wouldn't want to go through that line, so allow me to keep off on that discussion.
You're taking issue with the fact that there are people who are coming out to say Kalonzo should be. Okay? Yet there's even forum of women led by Charity Ngilu, whose party has fronted her. Charity Ngilu and others, were you there?
No.
And others have said Martha Karua should be. There was no problem with that.
You know, that was a
And
group
that was
of
even
women.
before. That was even before the panel.
That was even
had been
before the panel,
constituted.
and there are several people who have actually said, not just that group of women. I think I even saw some university students suggesting. They were suggesting. I don't think you have seen Mother saying whether she will appear before the panel or not, or given conditions. And I think also what Charity has done, Charity did not really endorse Mother. Charity said she would prefer
It's time for a woman.
It's time for a woman. So and now we have seen her applying. But she has not, we have not seen the tantrums and the drama around it. So we respect the various groups that have their preference of a candidate. And it's okay for them to suggest. Even in the media, you've seen various media houses, their headlines here saying that these are the people. And that's what I've said. We have just seen the common faces that we have seen before. And so what's new for Kenya?
Peter Munya is not a common face in the name of vice president.
He's been there.
But let me ask a more pertinent
He's been
question,
there, he's
because
been there.
all this talk at the end of the day will boil down to votes.
Yes.
And it has been said that UDA has a very serious foothold in the Mount Kenya region.
True.
Strong to the point where it is given that they would run if the UDA presidential candidate, when the UDA presidential candidate, when the elections take place, the UDA presidential candidate can expect the vast majority of votes in central Kenya.
True. That's the truth. And he has the advantage that from 2013 he has been in central Kenya. He has the advantage that he had the backing of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And of course, he used the opportunity to make friends in central Kenya. And I think throughout he has capitalized. The Harambes, he's done all of them in central Kenya. Almost after every 1 week, he's back to central Kenya. He's actually gone to an extent of moving away from the town centers, going to the villages. He has gone to even my own home, the village, at the ward level. Raila Amolo Odinga has not been a favorite of Central Kenya region. Actually, I think he got 1 or 2%. He only declared his candidature December last year. So how many months down the line? Around 4. He has gained from 1% to almost 30% in Central Kenya. Every day, and I'll say it, every day, Raila Amolo Odinga is gaining, even if it's 1 vote, in Central Kenya. And all those votes were in the basket
What's changing?
of UDA.
What's changing?
Different approaches, and I think people are tired of sentiments and lies and deception that was coming from UDA. And the reality is hitting home that the person who came in and pretended to be our savior doesn't really mean what he says. and I want to give an example of BBI, which was a document that was supposed to help people from Mount Kenya. I was one of the person who appeared before that committee. I went and gave my my advice and my opinion of what I thought would have been good for Central Kenya. One man, one vote was something that I really fought for. The issue of World Development Fund, the issue of money going, a lot of money, increase of money to our counties. So we saw the drama that happened around Senate. When they were to consider the issue of population. I am in the National Assembly to represent my people. And I know when CDF is given, when every member of parliament gets 140 million, then there's money considered, I don't know, for the equalization fund, all this other money that is added, it's to the disadvantage of our region where we have the highest population. So where you find that an MP from, for example, I'll say Kiharu constituency, the maximum they can give for CDF might be 5,000 for a student
For
to
bursary.
attend for bursary. While we have some MPs from Northeastern who can even give 100,000 for bursary.
Given
So
the
surely,
population, yes.
yeah, given the population, but what is being given, allocation that is being given in Parliament is same. So some of those things that we considered and were very passionate about BBI, I would say it was not 100%, perfect document. It could have been, amended. As even when we were passing the constitution, they said it was not 100%. But the guy who says he doesn't want us to have more constituencies, he doesn't want us to have one man vote, one shilling, he doesn't want more money to go to the counties, then he's the same person who is coming to tell you, I want to take you from the bottom
Up.
and take you up. So who took us in the first place to the bottom? Central Kenya, we have never been beggars. Our people now have been told, you guys are hustlers. The highest level of abuse you can tell people. Even the Bible tells us, even if you're sick, believe that you are healed. Even if you're poor, believe that you are rich. We have not come from very decent backgrounds, but we have struggled. From my high school, Eric knows me. I started from being a house girl to acting, to going to the university. I worked with Eric Latif. When I used to work at night, I could go to school from 8 to 5. Then I used to report from 8 again to 2 a.m. for my night shift. And I was able to pay for my school fees. So don't come and tell the people, you are poor because there are people who are rich. Give them hope. And the issue that we have started showing our people, that you guys are poor, Mama Mboga. And if you look at the people who are being told Mama Mboga and wheelbarrow, the guys who are coming in to see them, they're coming with fuel guzzlers, they're coming with choppers. So please don't deceive our people. And I think that's what our people have seen. And they have started changing and they're like, Allah. So these people have come to tell us how poor we are. But looking at the history, Mount Kenya people, coffee, tea was our backbone, and milk. There was a regime that came in and made sure that they have spoiled that sector completely. When Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta came, I remember when we were passing the issues about tea, we stayed in Parliament up to midnight. Those people who are now on the ground trying to tell people Uhuru has not worked, they were not in Parliament. If you look at the development, I will give you an example of my home area in a constituency called Gatanga, in an area called Idhaga. Idhanga, they have never seen tarmac from the time the world was created. Those people, they used to say they're in Gatanga, but they used to say there's Gatanga because of Gatanga, where Peter Kenneth come from. Then they used to say we are in Matanga. Right now, there's a very huge bypass. Land has increased. Those people, you can even see their faces. The lives of Kenyans generally have improved, but because of the various economical problems, and they're not only facing Kenya, but they are facing everybody. It's global. I have gone to Dubai. I've seen Kenyans who are there, who are my friends, who are no longer, they don't have jobs anymore. And the effects of what happened with COVID and many other things that have happened globally. But somebody want to come and lie to you, blame it all on Uhuru Kenyatta. So anything that happens, if your wife goes away, blame it to Uhuru Kenyatta. This is a person. Listen, exactly. This is a person whom Uhuru came and convinced us that because we had the fights with the Rift Valley, he said this is the first, I would say the first handshake. Let us come together as communities. Of course, they had also shared problems. They were both facing the ICC charges. Came in, worked as brothers, and was given a lot of trust. Look at the government when they were to do the ministers. And look at the lineup.
It was a Nuzumkate government.
Uhuru, Exactly. Uhuru gave him half, and the half that Uhuru took, he considered all Kenyans. He appointed the people from the coast, people from Western. Uhuru shared his part with the whole Kenya. But this other guy, his part was for his community only. And then they were trusted. They decided to root. And when Uhuru said, please, you guys, mutamaliza Kenya, he became an enemy. When he told this guy, I know your ambitions. And I know what you want, but please let us first deliver, because we told people about stadiums, we told people about many things, promises. We need to concentrate. We have UHC, that is a headache. We are piloted. This is not working. We need to sit down together and see what will work for us. The guy decided, it's my way, and I must get what I want. So then, the Central Kenya people have now come to see, okay, this is a guy whom our son came and told us is a good guy, but he has now come to tell us that our son is a very bad guy. And by the way, they bought that narrative for a very long time.
Now
But
it's
it-
changing.
but-
Let's take a break.
But
Let's
things
take a
are
break.
changing.
Let's take a break.
Things are
22 minutes to
changing.
10, Kenya's biggest conversation. Mheshimiwa,
This is the Situation Room.
just taking off from the question that CT had asked earlier about the vote reach Mount Kenya, and you had even mentioned this yourself, Mheshimiwa. In 2013, the Ruto votes, 52% of it came from Mount Kenya. In 2017, 50% of it came from Mount Kenya. And now you're saying that a majority of this is likely to go to the Kenya Kwanza candidate, but Raila, your candidate, is gaining, and maybe by the end of this, he'll have gotten about 40% of the Mount Kenya vote. How significant is that number if you compare it to the number that, for example, the Azimio would get from Ukambani? Looking at it historically, the number of votes that they've been getting from Ukambani, if you think about it being 3-4 million, what is 40% of Mount Kenya? Is it equivalent?
Well, in Ukambani, we are talking about around 1.2.
Aye.
Yes.
Actually, she's right. But then
1.2.
the Kamba vote is not just in Ukambani.
Let me just finish. And also, by the time that this 1 point, when you're talking about, let me just concentrate on 1.2.
Okay.
We also have UDA that has gained also some mileage in Ukambani. So it's not as it were before, when there was the Kalonzo, the way the situation was in 2017. William Ruto, give him credit, he has also tried to get into Ukambani, to Western and other regions. So that means we are not guaranteed of 1.2. Even if Kalonzo will become a presidential a running mate, maybe you're talking about 800 or so, or 700. If you are talking about the Mount Kenya, we say we have around 6.5. If you're even to get 40% of that, or even if Raila picks a deputy president from Mount Kenya, there's a possibility he can even get 50%.
Okay.
So,
True.
But two questions.
but if he doesn't, that means even with the 30% that he has, this one can drop. Actually, the choice of a running mate, it is going to be a make or break for whichever candidate.
It's whether it guarantees the 30%
Yes.
and more.
Right
or
now,
it's-
he has a 30% guaranteed, as we are. If he picks a running mate, he might gain 20% more, which comes to around 50%. If
What is 50% in numbers?
6.5, 50% of that, that's around 3.2 million, 3.25 million. So that's a good number. It's a sensible number comparing with the 800,000.
But Mheshimiwa-
Now, if Deputy President picks from Mount Kenya and then we pick from Ukambani, we will have our 800. But this number of 30% will also go down, which might actually go down to less than 10% for Raila Amolo Odinga. And that is a trick the other side want to play with us. So they want to force us a running mate or a candidate,
That'll,
so that then they gain whatever they have lost. Currently, if they're at 70%, they can actually go all the way to 85%.
Two questions I want to ask Mheshimiwa. One, I like the figures that you're mentioning, but consider this. The vote reached Mount Kenya region, if I'm to go by the example you saw in the nominations, not very many people came out for those UDA nominations.
Yes.
All right? Mount Kenya has always voted in large numbers because they've always had a candidate. This time there is no candidate And added on to that, there is this element of voter apathy.
True.
But also, when we talk about the foray that the Deputy President made into central Kenya, it was against a backdrop of something that central Kenya politicians, long even before your time, more so in my time, they did a splendid job of painting Raila Amolo Odinga as the devil incarnate.
True.
So it wasn't very difficult for the Deputy President to come and present himself as someone better, because that negative narrative that was the burden of Raila's to carry and now demystify wasn't there. So even if Raila gains and people don't vote, is there a guarantee that the voter turnout in central Kenya will be high? And what is it that will guarantee that high turnout?
The only turnout, of course, there's going to be very high voter apathy. If both, let's assume even both candidates will not pick running mates from Mount Kenya,
Yes.
then all I can tell you is that Mount Kenya, my behalf of the population, will not vote. We have to give them a reason to vote.
Yes.
And I've seen it when I started doing my politics 2013, 2017. You see why there was a very low turnout for UDA nominations. Initially, when we had our party, our presidential candidate, nominations were like the final. If you won the nomination, you knew now.
That's it.
That's it. And that's why you have a very high number of independent candidates. Because they said, we are not so sure about these nominations, so I don't want to do 2 elections. That I do nominations for a party, then I'm going again to the final
national
one.
election.
Yes. And so the expenditure is high. Actually, very interesting is that even the way we were having a lot of, I'll say pump and color campaigns, it's not there. People are not really convinced of why they should go out and vote. And so picking of a running mate, where I can convincingly go and tell my people now that we have so-and-so as our person, being a number 2, will motivate them to come out and vote. But if we have nothing to show, but for the first time anyway, as you said, there was a lot of, I'll say, bad work that was done to tarnish Raila's name. And of course, bad blood that up to date, I had to travel to Kisumu, I had to go to Sia and that region to find out what kind of people are this, because we were almost shown like they are not human beings, from our childhood.
And what did you find?
And they are very, 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 very decent people. If I was young, I would have considered otherwise. Yeah, these people are very good people.
But you politicians
But
now
they
got
have
to call you
also,
out here.
but also, these are also a region that has also been highly marginalized. I was shocked to find a lady fetching water from the lake, carrying the water with these 2 mitungis with a bicycle. And that water is not going through any treatment.
Nope.
And then she had these 2 small children, a very bright girl who told me she would want to be a pilot. And this small, you see the health of that son was not very good. Seated, because she was coming from the lake to fetch water, drinking water, but she was also doing her washing. So she had her clothes and they were wet in a gunia. And she had placed the kasan on top of that bicycle. But even the health of that woman, you could tell. And I was able, as a chair of health, I was shocked to learn about the statistics about malaria and how it even affects the women there. And even how it also affects the rates of the maternal and even the infant mortality.
Death.
So we have a solution, we have a region, but because they normally don't vote for maybe the right side of the government, they have been sidelined. And one of the reasons why I do support, and I hope we will deliver as on our side as Azimio, is that every Kenyan, despite this kind of person or where you vote, we should have equal treatment.
That was going to be a
If it's
question.
about,
That
if it's
shouldn't
about
matter where
water,
you vote.
exactly. If it's about water, clean water, and that water can just be cleaned and pumped and supplied to the homesteads. Surely, the issue about malaria, we are still talking about it till today. And it's affecting such a huge population. I also learned that these people actually went to school, I think, earlier than us. Yeah. I met old ladies who are the first pharmacists in Kenya. They went to Alliance. They went to UK in 1974 in our region. There's a very big discrepancy there. I am almost a first person in our generation to actually attend university education. Yes. I am telling you the truth.
In your ward.
I'm saying in my home and even in our area. So the education on the other side, they were actually very much ahead of us. So we need to gel. We need to feel proud as Kenyans, despite where we vote. And I think we need to change the way we create our manifestos, the way the promises we make when we are looking for positions. And we must hold accountable our leaders.
So then, if as you're saying all of these things, Mheshimiwa, is it a game of numbers, like you've talked about here, balancing, adding 30% here? Or is it really about those issues that Kenyans are asking questions about? Where then is the point? Where is the focal point? For Azimio, for whomever it is, where is the focal point? Or is it that who's going to balance the numbers here? What should we really be looking at?
When I was talking about the things to look from the possible running mate, I talked about the works and the track record and what a person believes in. It is important to have a person who will come and add value, and not just for the presidential candidate, but also to Kenyans. Somebody who is willing to change and touch lives. That is a kind of a person we should look for a running mate, apart from the numbers and everything else. But I think voter education is key. And we should focus, even on these shows, not talking about personalities and massaging people's egos. We should educate the Kenyan voter on what to look for. Not because somebody passed there in your village and gave you 50 bob, 100 bob, or attended one harambe and gave some bunch of money, and so you think this is our savior. I think the media has a big responsibility to educate the Kenyan voter on what to look for. Look at what happened to Nairobi. Look what happened to Kiambu. And now, the same characters now they are circulating. I think they have now gone again to Mombasa. So voter education in Kenya is very key and very important. Because we keep on complaining about, the kind of services that are being offered in our public institutions, or the kind of government that comes in. We keep on blaming one person who is a presidential candidate there. But we are to blame. We have devolution. The people who have taken devolution seriously, and I would actually like to applaud Charity Ngilu. We've seen what she has done with the money for devolution. There are some counties, they have nothing to show. They have nothing to show. So when people, those feeder roads are not made. Those are not, and people need to be educated, those are not Uhurus. Those are not the presidential. Whether you vote for a good president, you must ensure that you have voted for the best governor. Because charity begins at home. How the governor allocates the resources from that are given from the national government. You also have to think what kind of an MCA. Because every morning when people wake up on their issues, the first stop is for the MCA, the MCA person. They go to the MCA. You must make sure that you have a quality, a guy who can be able to transform your village, take your issues at the county level. Then, of course, a governor, then who is able again also to distribute resources, not for the areas that he was only voted for and not voted for. And again, not for the MCA who is supporting him and the MCAs who are not supporting him. He decides he's going to give nothing. And then they have these people who are called ward administrators, that they make them more senior than the elected MCAs. So that's why the Kawat Development Fund in the BBI was very important, so that the MCA doesn't have to go and ask for handouts from the governor. And you saw a lot of these impeachments.
All these things that you're saying, it comes down to political literacy, that voter education.
Yes.
Those such as yourselves who have had the opportunity to make the budget of a country, what role do you see Parliament playing in ensuring that there is voter education, in allocating money specifically for voter education, specifically for sensitization, specifically for public participation?
You see, now Parliament would be the wrong body to be given that responsibility on voter education, because we are all interested parties, the people who are inside there.
I'm talking about.
And there are some regions.
Allocation.
Budgetary allocation is only allocated to bodies like IEBC.
By Parliament.
By Parliament.
Yes.
And they have the money that they have asked for, they have been given. I don't think they have come in to ask money for voter education and they have been denied by Parliament. You see what happens with Parliament, and I'll tell you as a chair. If it's the committee that I sit, the Committee of Health, the Ministry of Health comes up with a budget that says this is our policy statement. They start with their budget policy statement. This is what we have been doing so far. This is where we have reached. So we need either increment, or we need this allocated, or we are dropping this for this. Then you're able to advise them, and you're able to either allocate or reallocate or add or you know. And then we also do public participation, where we have the stakeholders coming in and saying, so what are your areas of priority? So if IEBC have not given the priority of voter education,
Can you advise?
we can advise, but we cannot force them to. It is an independent commission. So that's why I said I'm giving the responsibility back to the media houses, because you interact with these people every day, because you're also Kenyans who are concerned on how the nation is managed. And please tell our people, it's not just about the spur of the moment, it's just about the excitement here and now, because somebody has come and given you handouts. And you will see. There are people even in the villages, when you're going, they will be telling you, mimi nagochea ule ndanipatia pesa saa ndio niende ni vote. But are you thinking about tomorrow? Utakula hiyo pesa leo. And it's really not much. Sometimes it's not even more than 100 shillings. But then what impact will that have on your life?
Yeah.
So we need to tell our people as they vote, and I have said from that lowest level, sometimes we concentrate on discussion of the highest office, which is a very important office for sure. But also let's tell our people from the MCA to the person who is your governor, to your MP, because they have CDF. They are also doing a lot. The CDF now has only 2 roles, on security and education only. So you still see some schools in part of this country that there are children who are still studying, you know, under the trees. And there's CDF, there's 140 million. Half of that goes to education, which is around 70 million. Then you are allowed half of that to go to bursary and half of that to go to the construction of classrooms and any other. So it is important for people to know. You know, I was telling the women, the ladies who want to become the women reps. You know, sometimes when people are doing campaigns, you go and say, I will do this for you, I'll do this for you. But they also, even the candidates themselves, need to understand your role and what you are capable of doing, and what you can actually do. And don't go lie.
Don't overpromise.
Don't overpromise, because if you overpromise again and you can't deliver,
Yeah.
it also leaves people very frustrated.
Mheshimiwa, thank you very much for joining us.